Hey guys, some of you may have seen the AI dubbing I did of the Spanish YouTube streamer Arts. This was just a quick measure to make the video a little more accessible to English speakers, just to tide things over until Duncan could take a proper look at it. Well, Duncan's now done exactly that. And he's dropped two videos this morning, both of which contain some absolute bombshells. If you haven't already, make sure you go and check those out after this video. In this video, I want to focus specifically on the phones, Jay's two devices, because they're absolutely key to understanding what may or may not have been recoverable, and why so many digital trails could have vanished without a trace. The iPhone 14, according to the document, is assumed to be the one that he had with him at the time, and the iPhone 12 appears to have been the one that Millie said Debbie found charging at the apartment. That was the device handed over to the Guardia Civil by the Slater family. So let's revisit the reason why he may have had two phones with him in Tenerife. We've covered this in a video previously, and the main reasons people typically carry two phones often come down to having one for work and one for personal use, or having a secret phone, sometimes used in the context of relationship affairs or to keep things compartmentalized. Now, I did read in the comments that one possible reason Jay had two phones was that he had recently purchased a new one and simply hadn't had the chance to transfer everything over yet. That sounds plausible. But here's where it gets interesting. In the court document, they provide the serial numbers of both devices. And fortunately for us, Apple provides a public serial number checker that allows you to verify a phone's warranty, purchase date, and support coverage. These serial numbers match the device versions outlined in the document, which again, to me, adds to the fact this document is genuine. On screen right now, I'm showing the results from Apple's own site. You can see that the iPhone 12 was purchased in March 2022, and the iPhone 14 was purchased in January 2024. Now, while we can't say with 100% certainty that Jay's iPhone 14 was brand new, it's possible it was pre-owned. If we go with the more likely assumption that it was on a pay-monthly contract and an early upgrade from the iPhone 12, which many providers now allow around the 21-month mark, it suggests he had that iPhone 14 for around 6 months before the Tenerife trip. So does this contradict the idea that the phone was brand new and simply hadn't been set up yet? And does it instead lean us back toward the more likely explanation that one of those phones was for personal use and the other for something else, possibly work-related or something more discreet, especially considering some of the people he was reportedly hanging around with? Now, let's talk about something that's really important and often misunderstood when it comes to digital investigations and high-profile cases like that of Jay Slater. What actually happens when messages are deleted or an entire app is removed from a phone? Because in Jay's case, we know two of his phones were recovered and examined by police, and we've been told that nothing criminal was found that was relevant to his death. But here's the thing. If a messaging app like Instagram, WhatsApp, or Snapchat had been deleted before those phones were analyzed, then that statement starts to make a lot more sense. It's not just about what wasn't found. It's about what may have already been erased. When someone goes missing or dies under mysterious circumstances, we instinctively look to the phones, the messages, the digital trail, and we assume that if police didn't find anything, it must mean there was nothing there to begin with. But that's not always how it works. On a modern iPhone, like the ones Jay was using, when you delete a messaging app, it's not just the icon that disappears. All the data that app was storing locally is wiped in the process. That means any chats, DMS, call history, cached images, or login tokens are all gone. And it's not just full apps either. Even individual messages that are deleted manually can become unrecoverable very quickly. Once a single message is deleted, the phone often updates the underlying database instantly, marking that data for deletion. And because of how iPhones manage flash memory, that message might be gone in seconds, with no backup, no trace, and no way to pull it back. And here's the critical part. iPhones use a system called Trim. It's designed to manage flash storage efficiently, but from a forensic standpoint, it's ruthless. The moment something like a message or an app is deleted, the phone tells the internal storage, this data is no longer needed, wipe the blocks clean. It doesn't take hours. It doesn't wait. We're talking seconds to minutes, Trim is designed to keep your phone fast, but it also makes recovery of deleted data nearly impossible. So even if police had access to Jay's phones and the correct passcode, and we assume they did, it wouldn't matter if those apps or messages were already gone. The data would have been wiped clean and overwritten by the system. Even powerful forensic tools like Celebrite or Gray Key can't retrieve data from memory blocks that have already been purged by Trim. So if Instagram was deleted, or if a WhatsApp chat was erased, or if someone removed Snapchat from the device before it was seized, then the messages are gone. That's not speculation, that's how iPhones work. Now, some people will ask, okay, but what about the cloud? Can't police just go to Instagram or Snapchat and request the messages? They can, and sometimes do. But even then, there are serious limits. Snapchat, for example, deletes messages from its servers as soon as they're opened. WhatsApp stores very little, and what it does store is end-to-end encrypted. Instagram holds on to more, but it's still on a limited retention window, and messages that were unsent or deleted may be long gone by the time a request is even made. And it's important to say this clearly. There's nothing at this stage to suggest that any kind of extended cloud-based investigation was carried out in Jay's case. We haven't seen any public reference to data requests being sent to Meta, Snap Inc., or Apple. So we don't know if any attempt was made to recover messages from cloud storage or platform servers. And here's something else that really matters. If Jay had access to a secondary social media account, or even a shared one that was used for work or other activity, once the app connected to that account was deleted, there would be no trace of that account left on the phone. No login tokens, no usernames, no cached credentials. So even if police were able to get into the device, they wouldn't necessarily know to ask Instagram or Snapchat or any other platform to pull data for that secondary account. Beck, that kind of activity, be there, especially if it was compartmentalized for a specific group, job, or purpose, could completely disappear from local records simply by deleting the app. It's also worth remembering that when it comes to things like iCloud backups, they don't happen constantly. They're usually performed once a day, and only when the phone is plugged in, connected to Wi-Fi, and left idle, usually overnight. So if a message was deleted or an app was removed before that next backup was triggered, then that data wouldn't be included in the backup at all. So even if authorities were to request access to Jay's iCloud, there's a very real chance that any messages or content deleted shortly before his disappearance simply wouldn't be there. I always want to explore the wording in the court document. The digital investigation of the iPhone 14, believed to be with Jay, translates to that it didn't reveal any criminal evidence related to his death. If you explore this statement, it doesn't preclude the phone containing evidence of other criminal activities, such as drugs, either whilst in Tenerife or back in the UK. The translated wording around the iPhone 12 is also interesting. It's been described as not relevant to the investigation, purely because it was the device Jay was using prior to his disappearance. But what does that really mean? Did they fully examine the contents of that phone? And if they did, to what extent? How could the Guardia Civil be so sure what is and isn't relevant to Jay's disappearance and death, especially if the factors behind it originated earlier, potentially in Lancashire, as some speculate? Messages to and from individuals not present in Tenerife could still have had a significant impact on what happened to Jay whilst he was in Tenerife. I'm going to explore more about the phones in another video. Now that we know Jay had both an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 14, there's more to dig into, especially when you factor in Duncan's bombshell that the court document seems to suggest Lucy was actually at the Airbnb. If that's true, it could completely change how we interpret the screenshots and messages that surfaced early on in this case, and raise serious questions about the timeline we were originally given. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.